Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Africa Sports Consultancy's weekly Facebook Live. Today we have an exciting guest on our vicinity, Nick. Nick is a very exciting and a very interesting person in many dimensions, not only in sports, but also in mindset, in health, in fitness, and in psychology. So we're very excited to have Nick today. Nick, welcome to Africa Sports Consultancy. And I hope, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And yourself, Franny?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are excited to get to know a bit more about you and to get to tap in some of the wisdom that you have to share with us today.
I'm very excited to be here with you guys today. And before I start, I think we should just send our sympathies and condolences out to the people of South Africa at the moment. Really hard times everyone's having, and a lot of things are happening, but let's stay positive, guys. Let's unite. Let's bring our best selves out during this time and show that this will not beat us. It will only make us stronger.
Absolutely great. Absolutely great. So Nick, as we start off our session today, let's start off to get to know a bit about you. So tell us a bit more about you. Who is Nick? I'm sure a lot of people are excited to know a bit about you.
So where to start? So I'm 29 years old and I live in Johannesburg. I'm a huge sports fan. I love sports. I started playing cricket and soccer at the age of 6 and 7, and then stopped playing soccer at the age of 13 and cricket at the age of 17. And then I later joined club cricket at the Wanderers Cricket Club down the road from me, very well-known cricket club in South Africa. Made the Premier League cricket team, played there for 2 to 3 years after not playing cricket for 7 years. So I was very happy with myself and how quickly I managed to get into that first team. But then after that, I decided to give my cricketing goals a bit of a break and move my focus elsewhere. And that is where we'll start talking about the psychology and what I have in psychology and what I'm looking at doing in psychology.
Really exciting, Nick. So just to touch up basically on the sporting side as well, you said you started playing cricket and soccer at a very young age. I know we also know that you were once invited to the Sharks Rugby Academy, which is a very, very, very big thing. And just tell us a bit more, like what drove you to start playing sports, for example, cricket, and what drove you to have an interest at the time to go play sport professionally? What drove you to sport?
Well, I just loved playing the sport. Simply put, it was so enjoyable being with your friends, playing a sport against another team, beating the teams, the camaraderie between you and your friends as well. It was something that I today still hold very closely to my heart. Unfortunately, I don't play any of those sports anymore, but I play golf now, which I've taken up. And let me tell you, it's a very difficult sport. But I'm enjoying it. I'm a sportsman. I'm a sportsman at heart, and I love all types of sports. And I don't think I'll ever stop playing sports. Till the day I die, I will be holding now a golf club in my hand and swinging as much as I can.
Absolutely exciting. And I'm sure I've always seen you posting a few posts about golf and how excited you are and how you keen to play and to always playing golf, which is something really great. So,
Yes.
Nick, just as we talk about sport, you told us just now that you also, into psychology and fitness. So just tell us a bit more about the transition, but the move from sports to a bit more academic background. How has that transformation been for you?
Well, at first it was very difficult. My dream was to play professional sport, and that's why I started playing club cricket again. But things happened and didn't go the way I wanted to. And I do believe that God closes doors for certain reasons to open bigger and better things for you. And this is where I found psychology. I love helping people. I find it's who I am as a person. You know, when they talk about finding who you are and what you're meant to do in the world, that is psychology. I'm focusing more on community psychology at the moment, and that is going into communities and helping them achieve strategies in their communities to make the community better. So with the times we're in now, something like that would be really, really helpful. And that is what I'm really passionate about. I see so many people struggling, people down and out on the streets. They don't even have their own pair of shoes. And it's so heartbreaking to see that kind of stuff. And I think we as humans and as South Africans, especially in this country, need to do something and need to actually try and help. And that's why I've decided to go into community psychology.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing, Nick. And you bring out so much passion in helping people, and this is what is needed in this generation. And yeah, a lot of trust to you for that. So
Thank
Nick,
you.
I'm going on to the psychology part. I know you are a big believer of the law of attraction. I know you are a big believer of mindset, of setting goals, and all that. So as Africa Sports Consultancy, as you know, we are dealing more with sportsmen, with aspiring professional athletes and also professional athletes already. So just tell us a bit more, on the psychological part, about the importance of having the right mindset, the importance, of goal settings and all the other stuff that goes around it, in ensuring that you improve your game and ensuring that you become successful, as a potential professional athlete.
Of course. Well, I find the most important thing when you are in sports is your mindset. You can have great players that aren't mentally right and they just don't go anywhere. They just don't succeed in the field they do. If you look at greats like Tiger Woods, like LeBron James, all these greats have had a certain quality, and that's their mindset. It's about how you think about yourself, right? If you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect others to believe in you? But regardless of other people, if you don't believe in yourself, you will not go anywhere. And that is where the law of attraction comes in. Now, the law of attraction states that what you believe and what you think is what you become, right? So if you don't believe in yourself, you won't attract things to you that will then play out in your life. Once again, I go back to Tiger Woods because I believe he's the greatest sportsman that lived. When he was younger, his father got him an American psychologist that worked in the military and taught him certain ways and trained him in certain ways to create a mindset that was so good that he dominated the world of golf for 20 years. No one could touch him. He was at number one for something like 13 years. Number one, no one touched him. That is ridiculous. You don't see that in sport. And that's why I have so much admiration for the man, because his mindset was so strong. And I'm sure all the viewers watching this right now look at these guys and figure, oh, what do they have? What is it? Where is it a miracle that he has this? It's trained mindset that got him to that. And any person can do that. Through your thought processes, you can become the best in the world. Another example I'd like to look at is Novak Djokovic. Now, he was seen as not the most talented of tennis players, but at the moment he's world number one, and he is on 20 Grand Slams. Who's Nadal and Federer also have 20 Grand Slams. But in terms of actual skill, he's not as good as them, but he's developed it in such a way that he's actually about to overtake them in that Grand Slam era. So it just shows you when you put your mind to something, regardless of what other people have to say, if you believe in yourself, you will go the mile, you will go the distance, you will do what you want to do. I know you, Francis, for one, are a true believer in this, and I know you've done very well what you're doing with your law, and it's proof of what's going on.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing, Nick. You touch on very fundamental and very important things that a lot of people out there, would be would have, I'd say the honor or the privilege to hear such information because it is life-changing information. And I,
Most
for one,
definitely.
it's information that has changed my life. So touching up on mindset, I want to move on to the aspect of goal settings, which we haven't really touched up a bit on that, just to narrow the mindset down to goal settings. How important is it for me as a young aspiring professional athlete, or as a professional athlete that wants to improve my performance? How important is it to set goals, and how do I go about setting goals?
Well, of course, the most important thing is with goal setting is first set the big goal. So you need to figure out what the big goal is. So if you're a cricketer and you want to play international cricket or IPL cricket, that's your big goal. Then from there, you need to create smaller goals. It could be weekly, daily, monthly, or yearly goals that you set each and every day and accomplish those goals that then will create bigger goals. And then from there, move on to the monthly goals, to the yearly goals, and so forth. Without goals, you have nothing to work towards. Let's take a cricketer, for example, and a bowler, right? Maybe he's struggling with his run-up and his run-up is not good. And because of that, he can't bowl at the pace he wants to. That session, his goal should be to then focus on his run-up, get the right length, get his coach in, and then from there, his run-up will be figured out. After that, if he has other smaller goals that he works on, use the same principle, work on it, and then go to the next goal. It's so important to have goals because without them, you don't know where you're going. You just feel like you're almost sitting around. You have this end goal and you really want to achieve it, but you don't know how to get there. And that's the most important thing. How do we get to that end goal?
Absolutely, no, absolutely amazing. You really nailed it down to the actual point there. Ladies and gentlemen, and those that are viewing tonight, please know that to set your goals is important, as Nick has already said. And as Africa Sports Consultancy on our website, www.africasportsconsultancy.com, we have some tools that help you and that assist you in setting your goals. Because when you're setting your goals, you don't just want to have them in your head, but you also want them written down. And we have online tools and online systems that would help you in that. So Nick, as we spoke about, the love for sport, we spoke about the mindset, we spoke about goal settings. I'm sure there's other things as well that are important, in actually making up a well-rounded athlete and a well-rounded professional or future professional athlete. And so we're going to touch on fitness. We know you run an amazing company, Nellie Fitness, which is doing really well in the fitness field. And we just not only focus on physical fitness, but also on diet and mental fitness. So tell us a bit more about Nellie Fitness and also the importance of fitness for the professional or aspiring professional athletes out there.
Okay, well, firstly, Nellie Fitness was founded a year and a half ago by myself and my fiance. And we saw a gap in the market, right? Because most fitness influencers, models, whatever you want to call them, they focus on the physical. And being physically fit is good, of course. As a sportsman these days, you don't see overweight sportsmen at all. Not on the cricket field, sometimes, but not always. On the rugby field, you won't see overweight, unfit people. Any type of sport, tennis, there's no unfit people, right? But you also need to make sure that the mind is sorted, okay? The mindset of that sportsman needs to be in a good place for them to then have the mental part and the physical part and combine it together. Without those two working in sync, you're not going to be a good sportsman. I played golf this afternoon with one of my good friends, Nick Fenter, and he's the sports psychologist at UJ, and he works with all of the teams. And we had great, interesting conversations. He's got 3 or 4 athletes that are going to the Olympics this year. And he was just talking about their mindsets and how the smallest of things can actually affect them. You know, not believing in themselves, thinking that, geez, a record that was set 10 years ago can't be broken because it was done by this person, and that person in that person's eyes is this huge idol, right? How can I beat my idol? So these small things are extremely important if you want to take your sporting career further. And that's what Nellie Fitness does. We speak to our clients, we create great mindsets and mental health. The most important thing for us is mental health. You know, physical fitness is extremely important. Being healthy, eating good foods, nutritious foods that feed our brain. But at the end of the day, if our mental state is not in a good place, we will not do well in our sport. It's as simple as that. And a lot of people suffer from depression, anxiety. You know, there's so many different things that we could go on about that actually at the end of the day destroy sportsmen, and not just sportsmen, everyday people, you know. But because we're talking about sportsmen, you have to have your mindset on point. You have to believe that you're the best out there. If you don't, you will not make it to where you want to go.
Absolutely, Nick. That's very important points that you point out, and I like that you touch up a bit on mental and on mental health. You know, because in this generation, mental health is such a big issue, as we see a lot of young athletes, a lot of adults, and a lot of people, but just everyone in general, are suffering from a lot of mental health issues. So, just not to go in so much on what you do, you know, what advice would you give there to a young professional athlete that feels like the mental health is not in the right place? You know, what activities or what sort of guideline would you tell that person to go for in order to boost their mental health, or to start that process of being mentally healthy again?
Well, firstly, if we're talking about not believing in yourself, because I think with sportsmen, that's the number one problem, you know, mentally, is believe in yourself. And it's easier said than done, of course, but every single person started somewhere. Tiger Woods started somewhere. He's the greatest sportsman of all time, in my opinion. I also had my doubts about my own ability. I wanted to play cricket for South Africa, and I was a very talented cricketer, but I never believed that I could make it to that level. And for my whole life, I had blamed certain situations, certain selection processes. And now in my 30s, I realize, and I look back, the one thing I didn't have was the belief. And without that belief, I didn't have the drive to go forward, because I thought, what's the point? I'm not good enough. I'm going to give up now, which happened. And that is what I wanted in my life, you know. And I had, like I said, I had the talent, but I didn't have that belief. And that is so important in a sportsman. If they're going through other mental health problems like anxiety and depression, firstly, I would recommend seeing a professional psychologist, having a meeting with them, a sports psychologist. I'm sure if there's professional sportsmen watching this, see a professional sports psychologist or a psychologist. It's the most important thing. My psychologist, I see him not very often anymore, but I used to see him often because I suffered from anxiety and depression quite a bit. So he helped me out. These guys are trained for that. So they know how to handle it and how to go about it. So yeah, those things. But physical activity as well is extremely important. It releases endorphins and dopamine into your brain, which is the happy drug, as they call it. And then also nutritious foods. Guys, nutritious food is so important. Our diet is the most important thing. If you look, and I'm not generalizing here, a lot of people that are depressed are very overweight. And a lot of people that go on to antidepressants are very overweight. Yeah, so that's what I got to say about that, friend.
No, absolutely. You touched on, very important things there that, when you look at mental health, it's not only just mental health, there's also other things around you that contribute to that. Your diet, you touch up on your diet, you touch up on your self-belief in yourself, how you see yourself. So, that's a very important thing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching out there, visit Nellie Fitness on Instagram. You're also going to find them on our website in the near future as we have a joint partnership with them. So please feel free to visit some of their products. As you've heard from Nick, those products are very amazing. And these are the products that will help you, be the best version of yourself, which is important in any aspiration that you have. And just as a quick reminder, if you have any questions, please pop them up on our comment section and I will ask the men right here to answer all those questions. So Nick, we touched up on a lot of other things, Tell us something that can spark the mood up a bit. Except sports, what are your other hobbies?
Okay, well, golf, definitely. I've been playing a lot of golf. Like I said, I love sports. And then, like I said, I'm going into community psychology. That is my greatest passion. I always used to think sports was, and that's where I wanted to do, and that was what I was meant to do. But my real passion, and it's not even a hobby, it's a passion, is helping people, is seeing people that are struggling, not in a good place, and then helping them out of those situations. I think we see so many people in South Africa these days, and in Africa in general, struggling, and they're in really dark, deep places. And to me personally, we need to try and fix that and help them, So that's one of my hobbies. You could call it a hobby, you could call it a passion. It's something I feel very strongly about. And I think if anyone's watching this, help the people that you see struggling. Guys, we need a lot of love in the world at this time, especially in South Africa with what's happening. We need people to love one another and to actually take some time just to listen to someone and just to chat to them and have that social interaction where you ask a person how they're doing and if they're really doing well. The smallest word will change a person's life. You have no idea. And it's so important that we do that.
Absolutely amazing, Nick. We are living in difficult times at the moment in South Africa with the current situation, and the words that you're sharing are very, important words. And I wish everyone that is listening out there would take those words to heart, and will move this nation forward, will move our nation, our continent forward into brighter days and into exciting and new days.
Definitely.
So Nick, let's say I'm a young athlete right now that's about to go semi-professional or just finished high school and is looking to play professional sport. What advice would you give them? Would you tell them to go for sports full time? Would you tell them to look for sports and also plan for some sort of a career after sports? Keeping in mind that sports is such a shortened career. What advice would you give them to ensure that they have a balanced view on life and they're not only focused in one area?
Of course, I think focus on your sport, but also have something else to fall back onto. Because for the average sports person, 35 is probably a good age where you stop, What do you do after that, right? But that also needs to be a passion, right? If it's not a passion, you're not going to enjoy it and life's not going to be good. And I think what we've seen in a lot of sportsmen is they play sports, they don't study, They leave the sporting realm, and then they sit around with their thumbs twiddling, and they don't know what to do and where to go, and they fall into depression, and their money hasn't been saved from the sports. Only the small percentage of great sportsmen have other things to fall onto. Businesses will want to work with them. It's easy for the captain of South African rugby to then have other business ventures because people want to work with him. But if you're just a professional, and let's say you only play domestic, then options are a lot less, right? So you need to have something to fall back onto. So definitely study, just in case. You never know what the future holds. You could have an injury that sets you out, but make sure that you have something. But study something that you're passionate about, like me and like Francis is. We're both passionate at what we do. We love it. That's why we'll be studying and putting ourselves through a lot of hard work and long nights and everything. But in the end, it's worth it.
Nick, we have one question, an interesting question from Godwell. Godwell says, Nick, how can I get muscles like you?
Oh, Godwell. A lot of training, a lot of food, but also the enjoyment of the training. Because if you're not enjoying that, you're not going to go into the gym and go work out all the time. But I wouldn't say I'm that muscular. Hey? No, I'm just kidding. It's hard work. And if you want, we can create you your own customized program. Guys, whoever's listening out there, go give our page a follow. It's Nellie_fit. And we will get back to you. Send us a DM, follow our page. There's so much information on there. But also what we bring is the mental health aspect, which is important, because you can train all you want, get the big muscles, but not be in a good state of mind. And that's very important.
No, absolutely amazing answer. You talk about very important things there. Moving on to our second question is from Matthew Felix. He says, how do you keep fitness up with injury?
With injury?
Yes.
Okay, so it's dependent on what injury you're talking about. If you could possibly reply to that, then I could go. But in any injury, you need to try and rest the body. The body does not respond well to injury. If it's your ankle, for example, which I think it might be with him, because I know that I think he might be a soccer player for some reason. You need to rest and relax, go to the physio, stretch it out, put ice on. So there's something called RICE. It's rest, ice, compress, elevate. And that's what you do, right? And you do that throughout the day until the injury is gone. If the injury is too serious, then you'll have to go see a physio, or you'd have to go for x-rays, depending on how bad that injury is. It's very dependent on the injury itself, but rest is the most important thing. You don't see Cristiano Ronaldo getting injured and then he carries on playing, because it can get a lot worse very quickly.
No, absolutely great answer, Nick. As you heard it out there, when you're injured, make sure you rest and you ice it up as well, as Nick has said. Just to go on to the last question, I think it's a very important question. Is how important is financial planning for a professional athlete? If I'm a professional athlete, how important is it that I plan my finances very well, since I'll be getting a lot of money, and I'm sure that money won't last me for the rest of my life. So how important is it that I plan my finances around to ensure that I do not struggle after I retire?
It's extremely important. It's probably one of the most important things you need to do. If you look at someone like Mike Tyson, for example, he was worth hundreds of millions of dollars and he lost every single cent just because he didn't know how to work with money, right? You need a financial advisor to tell you how to use your money. And that could be buying assets. You know, I'm not a financial advisor myself, so I wouldn't know exactly what to do, but making sure that your money is being looked after and is going to the right places will help you so much. You know, buying something you can invest in the long run will help you once your sporting career is done.
No, absolutely, absolutely good answer right there. As you heard it from Nick as well, ladies and gentlemen, as Africa Sports Consultancy, we have a section that offers financial advising section. Please visit our website. You will find it there. There is a professional financial advisor who can help you out in planning your finances with an online tool, which can help you out, you know, plan your finances in the short term, your whatever financial goals you might have. Our tools can help you reach them. Nick, you know, unfortunately, when you're having a great conversation, time just moves by. Flies by very quickly. You know, from the side of Africa Sports Consultancy and on behalf of our viewers, we would like to express our utmost gratitude. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing your wise advice and wise wisdom, which I believe would help each and every single person that would have the privilege to watch this video. So thank you for joining us, and any last words for our viewers?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me as well. It's been a nice talk. Anyone watching this, go to African Sport Consultancy, go check out what they're doing. It's amazing stuff, guys. Also, like I said, follow Nellie Fitness. We've got great products as well. We're two people who really, really care about the others around us. And lastly, please pray for the people of South Africa, guys. Prayer is so important, and let's unite. It's the most important thing we can do through these times.
Thank you so much, Nick. Those are very, very, very important words that you just said right now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening for yet another exciting session that we have every single week. Please join us again next week on Thursday for another exciting interview that we're going to have, and keep on the lookout on who we're going to have. It's an exciting surprise. Thank you once again for joining. Keep safe from COVID-19. Pray for the nation, and God bless.
Thank you.